we have two bore-through repairs, bore-through versus bore-through. But are they really? That's the question. Let's see what this is all about next. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, golf club fittings. Also, your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that bell and stuff across the bottom. That way, this stuff gets out to the YouTube universe. Also, join us Mondays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. It is a live stream version of the very same stuff. You and me, one-on-one. We talk with folks from around the world. The chat is becoming very, very family oriented as far as the people that are there, and we're getting new people in every time. It's really growing well. Join us. You'll like it. All right. I got two pitching wedges from the same golfer, and he wants me to reshaft them with the same shaft. Are they going to play the same? That's what we're going to find out, because they're supposedly both bore-throughs. All right. The very first one we have is an X14 steelhead. All right, X14 steelhead. The next one we have is a Callaway X-Hot. Callaway X-Hot. And they both, you know, in both the steelhead and the X-Hot have a tremendous amount of offset. These are definitely game-improving irons. They have very long blade length. They're very easy to look at address. They got a big old top line. Very confident to be able to hit the ball well. Now, on the X-Hot, if you would see the two together, the X-Hot a little bit bigger in the sole width. I would say there's a little bit more bounce on the X14, and the cavity might be just a little bit bigger on the X14. However, the X-Hot has an undercut on it, and the undercut pulls center gravity down and back, so you get a little bit more pop into the air. It looks like this has been hit on the toe quite a bit. So we cleaned them up. So what I did was, when I got them, they were just full of gunk and all kinds of stuff. So what I did was I cleaned them up. So I took out all the gunk. Normally you hit it with a little bit of heat and then a nice wire wheel, and you're done. And then they were kind of beat up, so I figured, well, let's give them a little cleanup process and a little bit of time on the wavy wheel. And the X14 always had a satin kind of finish, so we didn't have a problem there. However, the X-Hot really had a little bit of a shiny appearance to it, so we cleaned it up, and then I put it on my Glanswatch wheel to kind of help bring the polish back out. Now, I'm not going to do that spend a lot of time on that, because it is very much a used club, and there's some painted surfaces, and I don't want to really get into removing the paint. But I did give it a good cleanup, and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, let's talk about bore-throughs. All right, bore-throughs is exactly what it says. So the X14 is a bore-through, so you can see me right through there. That's a bore-through. Now, there's a way to deal with this, but we're going to talk about that here in a minute. This is the X-Hot, and it says it too is a bore-through, but you see that cap on the bottom. All right, cap on the bottom. You can't see through that one. Now, technically, is this a bore-through? Well, the answer is yes, technically, because if you were to pop out this bottom piece, then you'd be able to see straight through it. However, would the shaft penetrate through the bottom like this one? The answer is no. There is a definite bottom to this on the bottom of the hosel. There's a definite bottom there where this thing bottoms out. It will not go through no matter all the adjustments that you would make. And there are no plugs per se that replace that. Although I've done a few, it doesn't look the same, but it does plug them up, and that's what you can do. So how are we going to do this? So I have the same exact shaft. I have different requirements. And what I mean by, if you look at this one, and if you look at this one, there's a lot going on here, right? There's a lot more hosel here than there is here, which means this one's probably going to play a little more flimsy. So what do? Well, I trim them the same with the expectation I'm going to put more of this is going to stick out the bottom when I'm all said and done. So in effect, what I'm doing is they will play alike when they flex. That's what I'm doing. All right, so what we do? Well, we trim them up. I took out X number of inches off of them because they're pitching wedges. So about 3.5, 4 inches, depending on the make and the model of the shaft. And then we prep the tip. And then what I do in this one, because what this is, this whole area tapers, right? It starts at a normal and then it comes down here and it tapers. So what Callaway does is they typically make 5 insertion cuts. And what that 5 insertion cuts do, when you put it in that smaller piece, like your fingers, they'll go up and they get close together, and that gets you your integrity back. Well, I don't have a thing to give you 5 cuts. I could have used a Dremel tool. What I've found in just techniques doing this for years is that 4 cuts is more than enough. So if you had a cutting wheel like I do, you just cut right in the middle of it, turn it, and you don't go 90. You kind of go, well, you can go 90. That's what we're going to do, is go 90 and go like that. Now you can go this way and make an X out of it. That's one way of doing it. If you go 90, what I try to do is you got a cut like this and a cut like that. And what I do is I try and put the cuts in a playing position so that they're not swinging this way or they're not bending that way. So what I'll do is I'll put them at an angle like the X. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. So I've already done the prepping. I've already done the cutting, as you just saw. Now here is the real work begins. So let's go to the bench. Okay, so the other thing we got to worry about here is what kind of ferrule we're going to put into it. And both of these are infamous for some small ferrules, particularly the steel head. So we have a 1/4 inch collared ferrule for that, a 1/2 inch collared ferrule for the X-Hot. So let's get one more thing that we need is a tip pin. There's one. All right, let's use that. Here's one without a package. All right. So we have a tip pin, and we'll talk about that one. So the first one is pretty much an install like everybody's used to. I have my glue already pre-mixed. We put the ferrule on there. We're going to push down on this one, get it on there. There we go. That's like a your typical install for a bore through. So, so it makes doing bore throughs pretty easy when you have to do it just like you would anybody else. Make sure we got good coverage right there. Align our shaft up the way we want it. Okay. Good to go. Wipe off the excess so we don't have a whole lot of work. And we put some tape on it to prevent ferrule creep. And we're in there. Okay, the next one. This one's a little bit different. This one, a normal bore through as this is, takes up a lot of glue. So you got to make sure you got a lot of glue. What I like doing here is starting from the other side and getting some glue in the bottom, making sure it's in there nice and good, and then glue in the top, make sure it's in there nice and good. So now I got everything in there covered. Now it's time to put on the ferrule. Should be good there, and then we push it on, and what we're looking to do is make sure that this shaft goes beyond the edge. There we go. And like I told you, we're going to turn it so it's not in line with the other one. There we go. A little bit more. Alrighty. That's it. That's what we're looking for. Right there. We'll push that up. I got that stuff all over my fingers, so I got to go wash. See, that's just where it gets all messy. All right, so we got that cleaned up. Alrighty, so I can already feel me putting a fingerprint on the shaft. Give me a second, I'm going to go wash my hands, I'll be right back. Alrighty, the last thing we have here is the tip pin. And the tip pin is going to fit inside the shaft, i.e. the tip, but we got to rough it up. Let me get that on the sand. Alright, just a little roughing. Get enough glue coverage so when we stick it in there, it finds its way inside the shaft. There we go. I like spinning around. And then what I'd like to do is I like tapping it in there so we have a good seat. There we go. Alrighty, so what I've got here is I've got it to where one of the flats is facing this way, so none of these cuts that I made are in the way of the swing path. Alright, now I got everything, I got a lot right here as far as glue goes. And in reality, because we're getting ready to clean it up, and you'll see here in a little while, but there we go. And we tape that one as well. Set it in there waiting. Got that. What that was lining the logo of the shaft so that we're in good shape. Alright, so we got to let the glue dry. And then we'll show about how we clean these up so that we can measure them and put grips on them. So give me about half a day and then we'll get right back to it. Alright, we got the glue on and it's drying, and so what we did is we finished the ferrule using the felt belt, had a bit of a glue booger, flicked that part of it off, and then finished it with some acetone while it's drying. Now, so we can tell right here that it still has the cap. Now, a lot of people have melted these things off trying to take the head off. What you want to do is when you're applying heat, you just want to keep it moving all the way around and just stay in this area. Don't go up here. There's no reason to go here because the shaft stops somewhere right about here. Just keep in that area and you can pull it, twist it, whatever you need to do. So we're done with this guy till we got to polish. And just because I didn't turn on my, my camera, this was all goobered up. Okay, it was sticking straight out. And what I used was some 80 grit sandpaper. Now there are a lot of different options for knocking, because you saw the extra that was sticking out. It was about this high out of here, right? You can use a Dremel tool with a disc. That's always possible. Time consuming. You could use sandpaper, or you could use the nylon belt, which I currently have on there now. Now, what's the difference? Well, if you get aggressive in trying to get this done before the glue is cured and you use the nylon belt, it generates a lot of heat. And a lot of that heat could actually pull, and the fact that it's aggressive, it could pull the tip pin clean right out of the end and you're just starting right over. With the sandpaper, it's very, very fast. It knocks it down in no time flat. I wish I could have shown you. It literally took me a minute, okay? But now we're going to go back to the nylon belt because I need to finish it off and give it a smooth appearance, not this sanded, harsh finish. Now there are two kinds of nylon belts. There's a red one and a blue one. The red one's more aggressive and the blue one is obviously less aggressive. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go with the aggressive belt because I want to give the overall shine, or the cosmetic appearance, of a little more satiny look than what I did right here. So let's get started with that. I'm going to start making some noise again. Okay, you saw that, just that little bit that it took to get down to the flat, and if we look, this is nice and flat. No edges, no rough edges to catch your fingers on or anything like that. And I finished it all the way out. That's a technique called feathering. And what happens is when you do a lot of work here, it'll make this look different than down here. So to give it that professional look, what you do is you come all the way up and all the way down and come all the way back, so it's uniform in appearance. So we've got it right there. So now we're going to do a little acetone and polish this up. put it on the wavy wheel, and then we're just going to grip it. So you should be seeing what this thing looks like when it's all said and done. If you like some of this and you want to see some more of it, put what do you want to see in the show notes below. This is actually a fairly common club repair, but not a lot of people do it. So if you're wanting to do that and separate yourself from the pack, being able to do this might be one of those things that you'd like to do. All right, so if you like and subscribe and put in the show notes. Join us Mondays for our live stream, and we can ask more questions about this or any club reviews or anything like that. And as always, let's see your scores go low.